see if you started, guys.
So, and we're unmuted. Okay. Good evening. We welcome you here to the regular meeting of the West Valley City Council. This meeting is being held electronically. Council members and others are joining from various locations. As required by state law, we will begin with a statement of our electronic meeting. Pursuant to Utah Code, West Valley City has determined that this meeting will be held electronically without an anchor location given the ongoing novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. West Valley City has determined the pandemic presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present at an anchor location. This meeting will be held electronically. Members of the press and public are invited to view this meeting live on YouTube at www.youtube.com/user/WVCTV. To participate in the public comment period or scheduled public hearings, please visit www.wvc-ut.gov/public comment or contact the city recorder. Thank you. We note that we have 6 council members in attendance or participating electronically. Councilwoman Lang is excused tonight. Next, we will have our Inside the City video.
Hi, welcome to West Valley City and Taylorsville Animal Read-Along. This is Peanut Butter. Hi, Peanut Butter. Are you ready to share a story today? Peanut Butter chose, Can I Be Your Dog? Huh? Are you ready? Come along. Can I Be Your Dog? By Peanut Butter. Dear people at Yellow House, woof! Can I be your dog? I am potty trained and I have my own squeaky bone. Also, I love to play. I see you have a cat, but I'm willing to work with you. Who's a good dog? I am. Sincerely, Arfie. P.S. I know every house on Butternut Street, but I asked you first. Dear Arfie, we're so sorry, but you cannot be our dog. Our cat is, allergic to dogs. Good luck in your search, the Honeywells. Scratch, look how happy Peanut Butter is. What a dream. It looks like Peanut Butter and Arfie are having a great time with this story. What did you think of the story? We liked it too. Peanut Butter wants to share how you can adopt a dog like him or him. He's available. If you're interested in having a furry friend at home, please come to our website, wvcpets.com. Ask an adult to help you and fill out an application. We'll reach out to you and set a meet and greet so you can come meet Peanut Butter or anybody else that you think looks interesting on the site. Does that sound fun, Peanut Butter? Put in an application today.
All right. Fun video. And I suspect people will be lining up at the animal shelter now.
Let's see, next on our agenda are approval of our minutes of May 4th. A motion on the minutes.
I move to approve those minutes.
Second.
Properly before us, hearing no further comments, without objection, the minutes will be approved. And since there was no objection, then that's unanimous. Next, we have our comment period, and I believe we have some people who are participating tonight. We simply remind them of the 5-minute time limit. It's not a back and forth discussion, but a time for the individual to share all their thoughts during that time on the issue that they select. With that then, Nicole, how many do we have for public comment?
Mayor, we have 2 speakers for the general public comment period, and then we also have a couple for the public hearing scheduled on the agenda.
Very good. So
The first is Jim Bisak.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I love seeing the smiles on the face. Somebody go down there and adopt that puppy. First thing, yesterday there was a blood drive down at City Hall. I was fortunate, it was time for me to donate, so I was there. It looked like it was a pretty good turnout. I saw lots of city employees there, so that was a great thing for the city to do. And I'm gonna keep asking for it, we are in need of parking compliance specialists on the weekend. Changing subjects. Let me switch so I can read. Governor Cox, about a week ago, signed an executive order 2021-10, basically about reducing water. He ordered in the state government buildings that between 10 and 6, that no watering is to be done. He's encouraged city governments to do the same. I would ask West Valley to commit that the West Valley properties, parks, city buildings will do the same, ensure that their equipment is shut off when it's raining, and follow the guidance of our governor. It also talks about water-wise landscaping, switching from turf to water-wise landscaping. I know there's been discussion back and forth. I would hope there would be a little bit more so it's more defined so that the public and code enforcement or ordinance enforcement will know. I know Jordan Water District is going to ask the same thing, that we reduce water usage this year. I believe the news tonight, 3.94 inches below our average at this point. So we need to cut back on the water. Let's see, it's National Police Week. I want to shout out to all our great police officers in West Valley City. Hopefully council will do the same. We do have the best trained police officers in Utah, and I would put them up against any other state in the United States. And we need to encourage that. With all the bad press out there, West Valley City is not getting it. These are some of the best police officers around. Chief Jacobs has done a great job, and all our deputy chiefs. I'm going to speak on the public hearings once again, like I always do, so I don't have to raise my hand. It looks like another senior housing project. I believe this is number 3. The numbers say that we need them. Hopefully they will all sell and it will prove out. That's all I have tonight. Stay safe, stay strong. Until next time.
Thank you. Next.
Next, we have Mike Rigdon.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I apologize for last week. I was scheduled to talk on, and I failed to charge my iPad. And it really sucks when you go to fire it up at time at City Council and you have nothing. Anyway, I apologize for that. And I generally, when I sign up for these, I do mean to bring some good concerns that I have. My concern, of course, is between 4200 West and 5400 West. It's a safety issue, and there's just not enough barriers, there's not enough protection for people to walk on the sidewalk, people to ride bikes, with allowing the speed of 40 miles an hour, which was the previous speed before. The city is going in the wrong direction when they develop this piece of area. East of it and west of that particular area, there's a lot of right-of-way. There's a lot of protection for pedestrians and bicyclists. But in this particular area, it's narrow. It's tight. It's a very big concern that people will get hurt, if not killed. Now, one thing I have noticed is the city has placed 30-mile-per-hour sign about every 2 or 3 blocks. I'm sure it's temporary, but why is everybody passing me and honking and giving me the #1 salute? Because I'm going 30? Well, Mayor, I'm asking you a question because I'm directing this question to you. When was the last time that you went out there and observed how many 30-mile-an-hour speed signs there are? Now, don't tell me welcome to the city, because you've already told me this is big city. This is big city, welcome to the city. This is the reason why I decided to participate, because I have a concern, not because it's welcome to the city. No, you're not getting it. I have a concern. There is absolutely no police enforcement in between this area, period. Now, I can walk my dog out on a park, and I love to walk my dog. And I can hear the screaming of engines, motorcycles, bullet bikes, you name it. They're going over 30 miles an hour. There is no enforcement. I can hear it on 5200 West. I can hear it on the Speedway. You know, we got to have a name for this Speedway that you have developed. I have a couple of names I'm not at liberty to call, because I don't want to put any fault on any one person, because I think we had a number of eyes and yes that approved the building of this highway. Anyway, enough of that. I do want to say that it is National Police Week, and I've noticed some very good officers always doing some very good things at some difficult situations. And as I was at a store today, there was an officer in front of me, and it was a drive-through. And I asked the lady, I says, I would like to pay that particular officer his fee today and put it on my tab. Are you sure, sir? I said, I do, because I appreciate the good service that they do. And I think more citizens should do that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And with that then, Mr. Pyle, any comments?
No comments, sir. Thank you.
To the council? I would just mention that I do see 4100 South regularly. It's one of my main routes of travel, and do see the speeding that goes on. speeding continues to be a problem generally in our city, in many parts of it. But that is a function of the people who drive the cars. And we do enforcement, as our city has a plan to work on that consistently. With that then, let's see. On our agenda, our public hearing, application GPZ-6-2021, filed by Greg Larson on property at 3525 South, 6800 West. This request is for a general plan change, a zoning change, a development agreement on this land at that address, 9.9 acres. And there is a plan here to put in some residences, about 6.6 units per acre. They are units with a 2-car garage, driveway for parking for 2 vehicles, minimum size 1,500 square feet, although those will vary to different amounts, and will range from, I believe, 1 to 4 bedrooms. That gives you an idea of the project. Oh, and this is specifically targeted towards senior housing. With that general introduction then, before I open it up, any further comments or clarifications on that project? Not seeing any, then we will open this for public comment and turn to our city recorder. I believe we do have someone to speak to this, at least one.
Mayor, yes, we do have 2 people that have
Okay.
signed up. The first is Greg Larson. Greg, you should be able to unmute your microphone. And
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council, for taking time to consider the rezoning of the Pierce property senior housing. My name is Greg Larson. I'm located at 1042 Fort Union Boulevard in Midvale, Utah. I would like to address a few items about the project and add some additional insight to the positive staff report. I'm finishing construction on the Smith's Farm subdivision in West Valley, and as noted in my letter, most of the families came from nearby within West Valley City. I would like to provide an underbuilt niche for some of the aging West Valley residents that want to stay in the city. I'm proposing a high-quality project in design, amenities, and materials. The quality and architecture are very comparable to the Newton Farm subdivision. I've been very mindful of the surrounding neighbors with generous setbacks and no 2-story windows facing them. There is a tremendous demand and significant shortage for senior housing in West Valley City. Many seniors choosing to downsize are finding it exceedingly difficult to afford housing with the soaring cost. 6800 West provides some real challenges, and I believe developing this property first is in everyone's best interest. Starting the connection at 3500 South Street and improving to the south will provide a good plan as development comes from the south. This will provide a paved street system the entire length. Installing these improvements benefits the city to provide access to 3500 South that would not otherwise be required by future developments. I'm in favor of the trail system extension north of 3500 South that was discussed in last week's study session. I communicated this to Steve Pastrick, and he had indicated we can work this out, the details out with engineering. And finally, the motivation for Mr. Pierce selling the property in the first place was so that he could end up with a unit and live out his life on the land he has worked for so many years. That's all I have at this point. I'd like to reserve any time that I may have to answer questions from the mayor, council, or from the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Here next we have Tom Pierce. Tom, you may go ahead and unmute your microphone.
Yes, I am. Are we
You should
ready?
go ahead and speak.
Well, my name is Tom Pierce. And I own the property at 3525 South, 6800 West. And I acquired property there in 1968. So I've had that property for about 53 years. It's been my home, and it's been a wonderful place to live in, a wonderful area. I'm an advocate for West Valley City. I love the city. I've been in front of you gentlemen before when I stood before you promoting Newton Farm. And I think Newton Farm is a great contribution to our city. I love it. I even owned a home in Newton Farm. And at my age, I'm 76. And I found it almost impossible for me to keep up the yards and shovel the snow. It was a point that I decided I can't keep this house. So I sold it up in Newton Farm. I loved it, but I'm just getting too old to take care of it. A home up there. I've served on the Planning Commission in the past for about 10 years, back in the mid 1980s. I know the job you gentlemen are doing, and I appreciate it. And I applaud all those that are working their best to try to make West Valley City just a sterling place to live. It's a place I want to live out my life. I love it, and I'm selfish because I want to live it out on my property. Pardon me. My wife and I, our intent was to live there forever. Of course, we could help each other maintain it and keep it up. But she had a terrible accident and died. And so I don't have my helpmeet anymore. Help me keep it up. I tried to keep up my home on that property, and it was overwhelming. So I'm selfish, gentlemen. I want to see this senior living because I want to be the senior living there. I worked that ground. I loved that ground. I irrigated that ground. That was when it was Hunter Granger. I participated in the excitement to give West Valley City made a city in 1980. I loved the city. And if I thought in any way the project that I'm endorsing would be a detriment to our city, I certainly wouldn't ask for this rezoning. I think it's going to be a real asset. I'm a real estate broker. I've been a real estate broker in West Valley for almost 50 years. Every day, I have the opportunity to check the multiple listing service and check the availability of lots and properties available for sale. And I have it programmed into my computer to find me any single family house available in the area, not only for West Valley, but including Magna and West Jordan. And you can't find any. And if you do, if you're lucky enough to find one, it's gone in minutes once it's put on the market. There's a big demand for them. In my area, word gets out, rumor spreads, and the neighborhood and people in my ward are saying, we're in the same position you are, Tom. We love West Valley, want to stay here, want to stay in our homes, but we can't keep them up like we would like to. And I have 14 people just that I've just heard by rumor call me, talk to me, and say, will you take money right now for a down payment on one of these? And I can't. I'm not in a position to be able to do that legally in the state of Utah. But I can promise you that when and if this opportunity comes our way to have that kind of community together, then I'll certainly contact you. I know there's a demand, and I know we can sell them. And I would like to, if it were possible, and it isn't, it's just hypothetical, somehow have a sign or something and just say, we welcome senior citizens to our, and please stay. I've seen so many people move out of our area because they can't maintain their homes any longer like they like. So they move in with their families, or they move out of our area to find a place that will accommodate needs for senior citizens. And I implore anyone to try and find availability or excess. In the Planning Commission, with the Planning Commission, when we were in a meeting there was a gentleman stood up and said that there was just an abundance of these houses. Well, there aren't. As of today, I don't know of one single family house available in West Valley City. I don't want to belabor the fact and talk you to death. But I'm excited to encourage you, if you would please, consider giving senior citizens in West Valley a chance to have respectable, quality, high-class Newton Farm type construction right here in our own area, and not have to go other places to find it. And I'll be the first occupant on that property. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Council members, any questions of our public comment?
Is there anybody else?
I'm sorry.
Is there anybody else for public comment, or was that it?
No, there were just the two. Just the two. So I just want to make sure, I haven't closed it yet. I'm going to close it if there are no questions. And I'm not hearing any, so we will close the public comment portion, bring it back to the council for further discussion or action or whatever.
Mayor, I'd like to make some comments if I could.
Certainly.
I certainly agree with the applicant and Mr. Pierce, and Mr. Pierce has made some very compelling arguments and is certainly knowledgeable about the process and the city. There is a need for senior housing. There is a need for all types of housing. I'm pleased that we have recently approved a few senior housing projects, and I look forward to seeing them built and occupied. However, as a steward for the entire city, I have to take into consideration all 35 square miles, and one type of housing we are way behind on is housing for the successful professional. When we look at our city demographics, we lag behind in two areas, one being those college educated, and the other being household income. Having raised my children here and known their friends, I'm convinced that it's not because children from West Valley City are stupid or don't go to college or fail to be successful in life. It's because when they are successful, they lack housing within West Valley City as well. Prior to our developing the RE zone, there were no such developments here in West Valley City. And when we passed that zone, we had developers here in our chambers telling us that such houses as have been built at Newton Farms would never be built here. That there would never be a $350,000 house in West Valley City. Now, we know that's not true several years later. Looking at this piece of property, an infilled property next to Newton Farms, I'm okay if it stays agricultural for a while, but I hesitate having it be built into a higher density development when it is a prime subject for residential estates housing, of which there are not very many places and which we sorely lack in this city. I think it's a beautiful development, and I won't be in tears if this passes, but looking out for the whole city, I think we need all kinds of development, and there are not very many places where the RE zone would better fit than on this spot.
Further comments, council? Interesting. Okay. I will make the comment that I'm glad that West Valley is in a position to encourage residential estates and senior housing to add to the city. And so feel like this is a win-win, whichever way this goes. But any further comments?
This is Jake. Sorry, I was struggling with the mute here for a sec. I did want to thank Councilman Bueller for a very articulate, for articulating a little bit of what I actually feel, but wasn't able to put into words in that same way. And I would say that while I also agree with the need for senior housing and a diversified housing mix, I also find myself in the young growing career professional with potentially growing family category, and many of my friends who I went to high school with and college with, etc., who still have West Valley in their heart, are not here anymore and have had to find other housing options outside of the city as well. And so I appreciate that articulation of the issue, and I agree with the mayor as well. It's a good problem to have, but it nonetheless it will require a decision. And I would say that taking all the available information into consideration, I too am also concerned about how we steward the very, very limited developable land that we still have left. And I also agree that it's a beautiful project, but I'm not sure if this particular location adjacent to residential estate zoned properties is perhaps the best use at this time either. But yeah, it's not an easy decision for sure. But yeah, thanks, Steve, for kind of at least putting some of my thoughts into words.
No, I was just going to say, if there's no further comment or motions or anything, then I'm ready to go to the next item on the agenda.
Well, I'm ready to make a motion,
Okay.
Mayor. It's with somewhat of a heavy heart that I will move to deny ordinance 21-23.
Yeah, with an equally heavy heart, I second that motion.
Motion is properly before us. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we will go to our city recorder for the roll call vote.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu.
Aye.
Councilman Bueller.
Aye.
Councilman Hune.
No.
Councilman Christensen.
Aye.
Councilman Nordfelt.
No.
And Mayor Bigelow.
No.
Motion fails.
One, two. 3 no's and 3 yeses.
I'd
Now-
like to make a motion that we continue this item until next week when we have hopefully all 7 in attendance, since there was a 3-3 tie on this. If we had one more member here, that could determine the outcome. And so I'd like to make a motion that we continue this until next week.
Second for that.
It's properly before us, and that is our general custom to do, because if we had another council member here, that could very well, it would have to change it with an odd number. And that's why we have an odd number of council members. With that then,
Just clarifying, Mayor, would this be a motion to continue application GPZ 6-2021, which includes ordinance 21-23, ordinance 21-24, and resolution 21-66? We would consider all of those in a future meeting.
Yes.
that's the maker of the motion, and that was his intent. With that, hearing no further discussion, to our city recorder for the vote.
Councilman Nordfelt.
Yes.
Councilman Christensen.
Yes.
Councilman Hune.
Aye.
Councilman Bueller.
Aye.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu.
Aye.
And Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion for continuance passes.
That will be on next week's agenda for further discussion. With that, we move to the next item on our agenda, which is ordinance 21-25. This is to amend our city code to adopt the 2020 edition of the National Electrical Code. We consistently do that and need to update our code every so often. I think it's on about every 4-year period or so. This will keep us consistent with the National Electrical Code. That is the purpose of this ordinance before us. With that introduction then to the council.
Yeah, I would move to approve ordinance 21-25.
Second.
Properly before us, hearing no further comments, then to our city recorder.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu.
Aye.
Councilman Bueller.
Aye.
Councilman Hune.
Aye.
Councilman Christensen.
Aye.
Councilman Nordfelt.
Yes.
And Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 21-26. This is to amend West Valley City's code to update certain fees. This generally is not anything new. We have some practices that we have been following with regards to code or to fees, and this is just codifying those to make it clear, because there was a section of our code that was not real clear on that issue. I think that introduces the issue, and with that, to the council.
Move for approval of ordinance 21-26.
Second.
Properly before us, hearing no further comments, then to our city recorder for the vote.
Councilman Nordfelt,
Yes.
Councilman Christensen,
Yes.
Councilman Hune,
Aye.
Councilman Bueller,
Aye.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu.
Aye.
And Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Next, we have Resolution 21-67. This is to a request to purchase software, recreation management software for use by the Parks and Recreation Division. This will be a cost of $41,790, primarily for the fitness center and some other items as well. This particular software will replace the existing software that is no longer supported, nearly non-functional, and if it were to go down, there would be no recourse. We would have to spend time replacing that. We may as well update it now before it causes major problems. With that introduction then, to the council.
I move for approval of resolution 21-67.
Second.
Properly before us, hearing no further comments, to our city recorder for the vote.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu.
Aye.
Councilman Bueller,
Aye.
Councilman Hune,
Aye.
Councilman Christensen,
Yes.
Councilman Nordfelt,
Yes.
and Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next, we have a proposal. This is application SMI-1 2021, filed by Allison Witt. This is final plat approval for the Godfrey West subdivision. This is at 2540 South, 5900 West. This particular proposal is simply taking that property and modifying it slightly into different lots. And there is a lot that goes along with that, but this is somewhat routine and I believe is required to come before the council, but meets all requirements. And with that introduction to the council.
Move for approval of application SMI-1 2021.
Second.
Properly before us, hearing no further comments, to our city recorder.
Councilman Nordfelt,
Yes.
Councilman Christensen,
Yes.
Councilman Hune,
Aye.
Councilman Bueller,
Aye.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu,
Aye.
and Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next, we have our consent agenda. Consent agenda items are non-controversial, simple issues. We have here 7 items, all essentially the same at different addresses relating to the 2700 West Improvement Project. These are resolutions 21-68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, and 74. Basically all for the same types of items: easement purchase, easements, temporary construction easement, etc. And we've done a lot of these and probably will have a few more in the future. With that introduction, though, because they are fairly routine, to the council.
Mayor, I move for approval of the 7 items on the consent agenda.
Second.
Properly before us, hearing no further discussion, to our city recorder.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu.
Aye.
Councilman Bueller.
Aye.
Councilman Hune.
Aye.
Councilman Christensen.
Yes.
Councilman Nordfelt.
Yes.
And Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We do not have a need for a closed session. That completes our agenda for tonight. Thank you all for joining in, and especially those who participated in public comments in any way. It was nice to have several commenting instead of our usual one. And so, not that we don't appreciate the one, we do. And so with that, we will look to meet with you again next week. Final motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, and without objection, we will stand adjourned. And hearing no objection, that passes unanimously. Thank you all.